Feeling torn between fitting into office culture and staying true to yourself? In this insightful presentation, you will uncover actionable strategies that help you thrive at work while preserving your authenticity. Learn how to navigate office dynamics, that's paramount, and build a meaningful relationships and communicate very effectively to maintain your core values. That's what you are going to learn today. And you are not alone, remember this. And this dilemma is more common than you might think. With real world examples and expert advice, I will guide you to balance both professionalism with personal identity. That's what we are going to discuss today, and that's what you will get to know from me today. I'll give you an example. I'm assuming that you have gone to a company where it is properly set up, where you can see people discussing about people having a particular type of attire or dress codes, or for that matter, the way they communicate. That is quite different from how these things are in a startup. The way the startup works is completely different, and the way a factory is set up, or the way typical other companies are there, including IT companies, everything else is different. What does this mean? So this is where the office culture is not spoken outwardly, and this is the heartbeat of that workplace that you should try to understand. What the companies do collectively stand for, that becomes the shared values of the organization. How people behave, how people communicate, how people work together forms the norms and practices. There are a lot of unwritten rules and expectations that are in the handbook, the HR handbook or the company's policy statement, but are very, very crucial for you to getting in or fitting into the culture. That's where you need to be very careful about fitting yourself. Fitting isn't just about conformity. That's not the real meaning of fitting in. It is about actually the connections. You should think from that perspective. When you integrate well into an office culture, what you are doing here is you build trust. So trust is the foundation of your teamwork. Trust is the very foundation of your work itself. And you build collaborations with your team members, collaborations with your peers, your senior officials, junior officials. So when you are doing collaboration with any of these teams, and the whole thing becomes seamless and you gel very well within the company's culture. The moment these two happen, what happens is that you feel value at the company. That is very, very important, right? Otherwise, what will happen is that you feel that you are not adequately recognized or treated well. So now with these collaborations, automatically you feel confident, and this fitting in boosts your confidence and your job satisfaction. But there is a catch. That is where you need to be very careful. While you try to do all these things, you should never ever lose yourself. That's where you need to strike a balance between what you are and what is your identity, what is your value vis-a-vis with the company's culture. When you are conforming to these standards or these companies' cultures, what you are trying to do, knowingly or unknowingly, is this. You lose your identity, forgetting who you are and what you stand for. That your value system is completely gone. You will be made to compromise on a lot of things, including your belief, including your values, including the way you think about or imagine about. So you will have a compromised values. Obviously, because of these two, your motivation level will drop and you will become less passionate. So automatically that will impact your performance. Because it is impacting your performance, what happens is that you will start getting stressed. You will start getting burnt out. So because these things are unrealistic expectations expected out of you, right? So what happens is that you are not this, you are this, whereas you are expected to be like this, and you don't fit. So all these things are impacting you. So blindly following something that is not advisable. So what you should do is you need to be taking cognizance of the fact that okay, this is what the company expects, this is what I am. So true success comes only when you align your personal identity with professional norms. There are both sides of the coin. So we are going to discuss about the strategies for navigating office culture. And the first one, what you should practice or what you should know first is you need to know how to observe and learn. That is very, very important. So before making any moves, observe your surroundings, what is going on, pay attention to that. It could be communication style, whether it is formal or informal, because in many companies, particularly in startups, all these communications will be informal. Whereas in a structured company like a factory or a big corporate, all communications will be very formal. You need to send a mail, you need to get an approval, all that. So the second one is the decision making. Who has the influence? That you need to know. Again, in a startup, for example, decision making may be mostly collectively at the start. And once the company grows big and becomes a very, very structured corporate, then the decision making comes with somebody else, not necessarily with the owner or the team. Then there are social dynamics. There are a lot of openly talked about rules or unspoken rules. So that you need to be very clear about that. So which means that you have to look inward to get to know what behaviors are rewarded, how do colleagues interact, what values seem most important here in this organization. So these are the questions you have to ask yourself, and based on what you see outside. So that will help you to learn out of this. So that comes to the next strategy, which is communication. Communicate effectively. Good communication is your greatest tool. That you have to remember always. Because if you don't know how to communicate, you are doomed. Whether you are in a startup company or in a big corporate. So what you should practice is active listening. You truly hear what others are saying. Pay attention to that. The more you pay attention to what others are saying, you will try to listen very, very carefully. The moment you start doing that, automatically your thought process will help you streamline your communication. The second one is empathy, because you need to understand how your colleagues behave, interact, and their perspectives when it comes to work. Because sometimes what happens is that you may have to give a lending hand to your colleague who is not able to do that, or he may be able to do that, but not to the extent what is required out of him. Or it could be other way, that you may not be in a position to do, and you may be expecting somebody else to show the same kind of empathy that you are supposed to be doing with others. So empathy is very, very important when you are particularly in the team setup. But all these things can happen, but you also need to be assertive. Assertiveness is not that, I can do something like that. It can be even polite, but at the same time, you need to express your thoughts very clearly, confidently, but respectfully. And when situations go wrong between two teams, between two individuals, between two departments, what will happen is that it becomes a conflict. It can be a divergent view, or it can be even a view that people don't agree upon. So when there is a conflict, you need to know how to tackle this very, very constructively. Because getting into a quarrel, that's the easiest part anybody can do. But at the same time, without losing your empathy, without losing your assertiveness, trying to resolve the conflict, that is more important, and it is one of the best communication strategies. And I have personally experienced with my colleagues with respect to project deadlines, not once, many times. And we have to listen to each other's concerns, and we have to express that, okay, because both of us are working for the same organization, same goals. So we have to come to a level of understanding and to a compromise that works for both of us. There are plenty of examples in my personal experience which I have gone through. That brings us to the third strategy, which is resilience. You need to build resilience. To thrive in a workplace, you need to be completely adaptable. Because there will be a lot of pressures coming in from different people, different kinds of teams, different kinds of processes, different kinds of stakeholders. So you need to have that resilience within you to handle these things. On this, the foremost point is emotional intelligence, because that is the very least or most unexpected things out of people. Because suddenly people burst out. How can you ask me this question? How can you do this? How can you do that to me? So that is not the right thing. So you need to have a balance on your emotions, which involves EI, emotional intelligence, or emotional quotient, EQ. So recognize and manage your emotions very well. You need to practice that. So because if you are not managing your emotions properly, you get into some quarrels. What happens is that you get into some stressful situations. So you need to be very clear to avoid or find ways to decompress these kind of stress or stress creators, and you need to find a way by which you do the stress busting techniques, like exercise, meditation, yoga, or hobby, anything you can pick up, so that you will be stress free. And all these things will work together only when you have a feedback. You must be willing to receive feedback, otherwise you will assume certain things and the other person may not be viewing you in the same way, so it will create a lot of problems. So you try to learn how to get the criticism in a positive sense, so that instead of taking it personally, you try to take it very objectively and see how you can handle this. All these things are possible only when you are flexible. So be open to changing dynamics and new ideas, because in every organization, based on different stakeholders, based on different situations, based on an email, for example, the whole thing can be completely changed in a jiffy. So you need to be flexible to receive these ideas and follow. So my suggestion here is that if your workload feels overwhelming, simply prioritize these tasks and don't hesitate to ask for help. That's what I would do. So that brings us to the fourth strategy, which is setting boundaries. Because the job will be there, whether you are there in the company or not, the company will have these jobs for today, tomorrow, and for any days in the future. So whether you are going to do that or somebody else is going to do that, the work has to be done, isn't it? So without boundaries, what will happen is that work can consume your whole life. So protect your mental health by prioritizing self-care. So take breaks. Don't think that you are having your company or responsibility on your shoulder or head or in the back, so that you don't need to do this again and again. So you prioritize and do it with confidence. Have a clear work-life separation or balance. So log off after office hours or whatever is the stipulated time. But there are certain rules nowadays that people are being asked to not to respond to emails or phone calls after office hours. So there are some companies which follow that as part of the culture. But some companies still allow people to interact during non-office hours or even holidays. And never ever commit something which you cannot do. And you need to say no when necessary, particularly when you think you cannot do. So that makes us to come to the fifth strategy, which is embrace your embrace your authenticity. So authenticity is like your stamp. When you say something, that ends the matter. So that means you are building a credibility, you got a personal brand for yourself. So that means your values are being talked about. So which means that so and so, when they say something or when they do something, then that's it. People agree upon to that. So and at the same time, whatever is that is non-negotiable to you, people won't even come and ask for that from you. Know your strength. What are the unique skills you have, and how do you bring it onto the table so that others can use it in an appropriate way. And all these things are possible only if you are passionate about a few things, and what those passions are about, and what excites you about your work. This possibly your mentors can help you with to identify you are passionate about, or what you can do with authenticity, or maybe your strength where your mentor can identify. The sixth strategy here is that understand power dynamics in an organization, because every workplace has certain people within networks and stakeholders, and these people have got their own way of doing things. So who are the key decision makers? Who drives the change? And whether they are informal network or they are formal network, in the sphere of influence, or who has got a more say in influencing, and who are the decision makers, and how the whole structure is being built in your organization, that you need to know. And again, you need to know that for such kind of smaller issues, where to approach, and for a larger issues, how do we handle that. So all these things, you need to know who is in control of what. And when there is a conflict, you must also know that what are the conflict resolution challenges. So who make those things. So you need to know that who can handle that. So you will find a way. That's called channelizing the entire thing. So you will find a way that for this kind of conflicts I have to go to so and so, and for some other kind of conflicts I have to go to so and so. So that channels you need to understand. So that brings us to the last one, the support systems. You need to find the best support system for you. So surround yourself with people who value your authenticity, and you feel vibrant about having you in that team. So like-minded colleagues is one good example where you can share your goals and challenges. Your mentors obviously will help you and will even lift you up. Maybe they can act as a godfather in that sense. And you can have a small communities where you can join, and wherein you can stamp your authenticity, where your authenticity is being accepted. So, having seen these 7 strategies, let's talk about certain practical steps for balancing your authenticity as well as your office culture. You need to balance that. So, the first step here is that align your values with the organization's mission. Find the common ground between your personal and professional values. So, strike a balance. And the second step would be like adapt to certain things imposed on you by your organization, but without losing yourself. So adjust to that culture while staying true to your identity. Revisit and reflect regularly, because every month or every quarterly, every half-yearly, every yearly or annually, you try to reflect: have you lost your value system? Have you gained any new values? So that you need to continuously monitor. It is not an appraisal process; it is self-appraisal for your own integrity and your value system. So periodically evaluate this. Navigating office culture while staying authentic is a journey. It is not a destination, it is a journey. And you need to remember these key takeaways in today's discussion. Fitting without losing your unique identity. Communicate effectively and assertively. Build resilience and adaptability. Fourth one is prioritize your values and set boundaries. And fifth one is seek support from mentors and colleagues. I wish to recommend you a few resources. The book by Erin Meyer, The Culture Map, that I feel is good. And there are articles out there, the importance of authenticity in the workplace by Forbes. And you can always visit Harvard University or the Harvard Business Review or Yale University's articles. So embrace your authenticity. It is your greatest strength in navigating the complexities of the workplace. I hope these insights inspire you to start building your self identities from today. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe and stay tuned for more career development. We will see you in the next video. Cheers.